Welcome back, everybody. We are coming together. Coming together with your butt in your seat. Come together. Cheek to cheek. Come together. All right. We are moving into something that I find very exciting because we're trying something new at CAM, and we're calling them CAM Talks. Kind of sounds like a TED Talk, but it's shorter. And it depends. I understand that you could get 6 minutes at TED, you could get 8, you could get 12, depending on what they think. But anyway, so we are about to have our very first CAM Talk at CAM. People were asked to submit, and we decided to do one on each day, and some people are doing them on video with Phyllis, and you'll see those on your TV on channel. Coaches are good listeners. Yes, they are. Channel 99, where you also have your evening report tonight. So without further ado, I'm very proud and humbled to introduce you to someone who you already know. But Jay Perry has had a tremendous impact on my life. Most of you may know, some of you may not, but Jay was my very first coach. Yes, I knew him when I was an actor, and he had a place called the Actors Work Program where he taught the business side of the business to actors. And he changed my life there, and he changed my life by introducing me to coaching as a client and then as a mentor. And now Jay and Don Maruska have a brand new book out, top of the year, that you saw in the back called Take Charge of Your Talent. And I have to read the subtitle. It's 3 Keys to Thriving in Your Career, Organization, and Life. I know they have big plans for it. And it's because of Jay Perry, too, that I married my husband. And I could just go on and on and on and how Jay has affected my life. But this is about him. So please welcome Jay Perry for our first CAM Talk.
Yes, everybody, thank you very much. This is about take charge of your talent. With Don Maruska. Where's Don? Don's right in the middle there. And I'm going to tell you the story about how that came to be in a little bit. But first of all, I'd just like to say a few things about this notion, why we think it's actually important to take charge of your talent. What's so important about your talent? We just imagined that if everybody in the world could use 20% more of their talent, what would our world look like? We've done well over 1,000 surveys with people, and there's a clear correlation between how much people are using their talent, how much they think they're using it, and their level of life satisfaction. Raise level of talent, improve quality of life. There's lots of cool things going on. So when you publish a book like this, you better know what you're talking about. So good question is, how do you take charge of your talent? And conventional wisdom would have us think that where you would start would be to identify your talent, to label it. And what we've found is that's exactly the wrong place to go. As soon as you try to label your talent, it's like you're puncturing a hole in it. You're putting yourself in a box. My apologies to all you Strength Finder fans and all of that. So we found it useful for ourselves to redefine talent for our purposes. It's not just your skills, or your strengths. We say that your talent is your self-expression. Your talent is your self-expression, the joyful demonstration of your unique abilities that benefit both you and the world. The joyful demonstration of your unique abilities that benefit both you and the world. So, because you can imagine it's hard to, get your hands on what's unique about any of us. So how do you take charge of what you can't pin down? So we discovered we had to come at this from a very, very different direction. We started with the notion of story. And one of my favorite quotes by George Gerbner, that what differentiates human beings from all other species is that we're the only ones that tell stories and then live by the stories we tell. So where we start is to power up our talent story. And it's a very particular kind of story, our talent story. It's a love story, as all great stories are, but it's also a hero story. A story about ordinary human beings, not superheroes, ordinary human beings who have great hopes, are willing to get into action, are ready to accelerate through all the obstacles they face in order to create something, to create some asset, whether it's a personal asset, a career asset, an organizational asset, but something that can benefit both themselves and the world. So what I'd invite you to do right now is just consider for yourself one of your deepest hopes. If you want to close your eyes, that's fine, but just take a moment to put stuff down and just imagine one of your deepest hopes. And as you do, I'm going to read this as a backdrop to it. It's by the Pulitzer Prize-winning poet Tracy K. Smith. We dream on our backs, eyes shut to the world. Dreams carry us away, but when we wake from them, we're right back where we were when we lay down. For all but the most exceptional of people, dreams keep us from stirring, from making a peep. I'm tired of dreams. As far as I'm concerned, it's time to wake up. Enter hope, another story altogether. Hope is not about receiving, about being the beneficiary of some nebulous good fortune. It's about putting desire into action. Hope is an idea with an engine. And it's that engine that you use to power up your talent story. So I want to tell you the story of how something came to be. It starts at CAM probably about 5 years ago when I was reintroduced to Don Maruska, who said, I'm working on this project about talent, and I might like to play with you. Would you like to play with me about this? And so we started doing that. We started playing with it. All kinds of wonderful things happened. It ended up being this wonderful book. And then I went to Camelot last fall, and we were sitting around in circles, and people were asking about our hopes. And I said, well, one of my hopes is to create a really entertaining presentation that's also thought-provoking around the book. And sort of that's where this story begins. So I started out by getting a video camera, which sat in my house on the window ledge for about 4 weeks before I realized I wasn't ever going to do anything with it. And then I was reading the introduction to our book again, and there's a line in it that says, just the perfect moment is now. And that just started going around my brain. And so I went out into the woods to take a walk with my dog, Mozart. And as Mozart and I were out there, hi, Mozart. And as I'm in the woods with Mozart, I started doing this, and suddenly a melody started coming to me, and I started to think, humming and humming. And so I started walking faster and faster and ran into the house and grabbed my guitar, and sat down with my iPhone and the little voice recorder on my iPhone and started recording it. And so I had this little scratch recording of this song. I created some lyrics for it. And and now I had this thing going. I called up some people, and I played the song on the guitar, and they really liked it. And then I met with my emergence group, who who double dog dared me to actually do something with this thing, to actually really make something of it. So I went up to my wife, Susan, and I said, hi, sweetie, how are you? And said, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we knew somebody who was a recording engineer? And she said, Jay, our good friend Daria has a son named Abel, and he's a recording engineer. So I called Abel and met with Abel, and he sort of liked it. He was a young guy. I figured, well, okay, it's not so weird that I'm doing this. And he said, are you going to sing this, or would it be all right if we had other people come in? I said, whatever works. So he brought in another wonderful musician named Justin, who played guitar and violin. Thank you, Justin. And so we decided we were, may start making a recording of it. And we booked some time in the recording studio, and that day we were going to get into the recording studio. I had sort of a scratchy throat, so I had to get a cup of hot tea before I went in. And we recorded it, and we had this recording, and something wasn't quite right about it. You know, it had been really courageous of me. I had to use my courage to get here. But now I found I really needed to use persistence to to make sure that we followed through and made all the improvements we needed to do to have the song be up to my standards. When we got the song done, I realized in order to have it up on YouTube, I needed to make a video. And so we brought a guy named Bernard in. Is Bernard here? I can't remember. Oh, yes, Bernard. Yes, Bernard is here, who helped me with this video. And so that's what we'd like to do for you today, is we're gonna show you the music video of what we created. But before we do that, I just want you to take a look around at the room, because most pictures you see of talent are of like one athlete or one musician, something like that. This is a much more accurate picture to me of what talent is. Self-expression, although it starts with the self, is all about how you use the resources around you to accelerate through obstacles as you create something worthwhile. So thank you, resources. You can certainly have a seat. And what we've created is a work in progress. It will continue to be a work in progress as we strive for excellence, but we're proud to show it to you today.
The moment is now. The moment is now. Sometimes I just feel like I can't get anywhere. I'm longing to fly, and no one seems to care. I'm dissatisfied. I'm sure I could give much more. Feel so empty inside. When will I get to explore? The moment is now. Tune into your hopes, my friend. Be the hero you are. See how far you can go. The moment is now. Life is for living, they say. If you're ready to grow, see how far you can go. I'd rather be safe. To tell the truth, excuses, they comfort me. I don't like to take risks or fall on my face. I'm not up to the task, heck, everyone tells me so. Caught in a catch-22, who do I think that I am? Be the hero you are. Tune into your hopes, my friend. See how far you can go before reaching the end. The moment is now. Life is for living, they say. If you're ready to grow, see how far you can go. Life is for living, they say. The moment is now. The moment is now.
So this is all the product of the thing that we all us coaches know, is that you got to walk the talk. So it was one morning when I woke up and said, how am I taking charge of my talent right now? What are my hopes and where do I want to go? So again, our little formula, our 3 keys to thrive in your career, organization, and life are to 1, power up your talent story. Be the hero you are. Tell that story. Come from there. 2, accelerate through obstacles. And when I say accelerate through obstacles, you can think of that as moving quickly through them, or you can also think of it in terms of accelerating through obstacles. How are the obstacles we face actually the things that have us use our talent, move faster and farther? Because without them, we just get lazy. What would it be like hitting the ball over the net in tennis and having nobody hit it back to you, making you run for it, challenging you to reach for your best? And the third, we say it's multiplying the payoffs for yourself and others by creating concrete assets, things that you can share with the world. And all of this is based on the notion of talent as your self-expression, the joyful demonstration of your unique abilities that benefit both you and the world. Thank you.
You can make the mountains rain, or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, and you may not know why.
Do you want a drink? Is that what you're looking for? Yeah. On the right is... All right. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, Jay's a coach. No, I know you guys know who Jay is. So how would you like to interact with your audience?
Well, there's lots of things we could do, but I'm just curious about questions that you have, or how any of this might have had an impact on you. Because what I said was I wanted to be entertaining and thought-provoking. Why don't we start with the thought-provoking? Anybody have a thought provoked?
Raise your hand. We have mics. Thank you.
What I appreciated about the visuals here is I looked down at my watch and I wanted to do a little cutout that says now and tape it on there. So that's my takeaway.
That's great. Anybody else?
Jay, I'm intrigued by the idea of taking charge of our talents without labeling them. So if you could talk to that a little bit, that would be great.
Yeah. It certainly seems that a lot of the material we've been given to work with in our generation is still based on the mechanical model of organizations, right out of the Industrial Revolution, that an organization is a machine that needs well-oiled parts, and talent development is about training up and replacing the part as needed. And I think what we're seeing in this generational shift is a lot more autonomy. On one hand, the what do we call them? The internet. There was a word we used.
Digital natives?
The digital natives, yeah. The digital natives are just used to, they want to do something, they want to find something out. I'll call my son and say, how would I find out? He said, Dad, you got a computer in front of you, Google it. I also think that what we've learned from other speakers at CAM is that things are changing so much more rapidly these days that innovation, creativity are really required, much more than just the doing this. So one piece of this you could say is sort of based on the Daniel Pink thing of intrinsic motivation, the notion that start asking people what their passion is, or actually trust that their talent, their unique abilities are going to ride along with that engine of hope. They don't need to have the definition of what they're good at, because every time you define what you're good at, you're by the same token saying, and you're not good at something else. All of those divisions about some have talent, some don't. The money goes and the training goes to the high potentials. Everybody else gets left out. What Don and I, my vision for this is to be able to impact everybody on the planet, to take the essence of coaching and be able to give it to people in just a few hours so that they can take it and run with it. That won't make coaches obsolete, but it certainly will be able to have us reach. And somebody said that earlier, I can't remember the question, But our 2020 vision is to have 20 million people using this by the year 2020 in at least 20 countries around the world, and to have at least 20% of the people impacted be from underserved populations. So we're very consciously, really consciously trying to reach that. But if you just think of it as the organization right now, what percentage of the organization is an underserved population that we can impact? We can go into, an organization with 500 people and do everybody in a day or two. Train up a few more people more intensely so that they stay behind and are the champions, what we call the talent champions. So if we did that by, saying you're good at this, you're good at that, we're dividing people rather than bringing them together. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
It did.
It's occurring as you're speaking that I still kind of sense that eventually that individual has to say for themselves what their talent is. And so it seems like they're going to get around to labeling it one way or the other. So I'm not suggesting that I should be the one to label it or that anyone else should, but it seems like the person still has to get there.
Well, so look at this video. I mean, I actually don't know what I was good at there. I sang part of it, and I had some of the ideas for it. But another singer came on and he sang the chorus and he was great. I loved him. They did other stuff. So part of what I needed to do here was not get worried about what I could do or what I couldn't do, what I was good at or what I wasn't good at. It was just to, at every step of the way, find the resources that I needed to realize my hopes. And if I started thinking, oh, I'm good at this, I'm not good at that, I think I would have given up early on.
Scott, do you have a burning question?
I do. So having known you a long time.
Long time. I knew you when you had hair.
Yes. And let's see, I had hair, I got to know you, I don't have hair. Gee, what's the connection? Anyway,
took your hair.
He took my hair.
I'm the bald coach.
He was a great coach. He had the hair coach. Anyway, one of the things I've always appreciated about you, Jay, is your ability to evolve your thinking. So I'm curious, two questions. One is, how has your thinking about talent evolved from, say, 10, 15 years ago? And what can you tell us about your evolutionary process? Because your humility, which I've always appreciated, has allowed you to shift your thinking in very powerful and very rapid ways. So I'd be curious for you to share, if you can, that process, whether it's conscious or unconscious. And do that in less than 30 seconds, please. No, I'm kidding about that part.
He's got time.
That is a great question. I've never considered that before. Those of you who don't know, I was an actor and I worked in the theater for 10, 15 years. And that was always a concern in the theater, what your talent was, what you were good at, and people being typecast. And I learned early on in that that my hopes were not a match for the way the world perceived me. So I wanted to be Hamlet. Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I. Is it, and nobody said, people saw me as the guy that dressed up as a girl and was cute, and stuff like that. So I realized that if I was going to get typecast, I was going to be unhappy for a long time. If I was going to do what other people thought I was good at and appropriate for, that was not a fit for me. I had to find some way to express myself. And frankly, coaching was, that to me was the great gift of coaching. I think my entire life, all I wanted to have it be enough that I could be me. Not have to be somebody else to succeed in the world or to have a great life. So I suppose that's, for me, it's a sort of a steady progression, but this has everything to do with authenticity. And my take on authenticity, which you've heard before, is that it's actually the absence of adaptations to fear. See, I don't know what's authentic, but I know, if you take stuff away, what you're left with is authenticity.
Can you say that again? Because I see people typing and writing, and it went by quickly.
That authenticity is the absence of adaptations to fear. See, fear is a cool emotion. It's really great that we are able to experience fear. But we also learned early on to adapt our behavior. And whether it's to be very serious and businesslike, or whether it's to be, cute and funny, or to be really shy, or whatever adaptations we've had, really remarkable that as a species we can do that. but it also robs us from just being ourselves. I think that what we start out with here is what we call a talent catalyst conversation. The first question is, what are your hopes? But there's a series of 10 questions that we've engineered to bring people through a process. That's why we can train people to do this in a very short period of time, because we give them the open-ended questions to ask and train them in a very, very simple form of generous, reflective listening. But when you get down to the bottom of it, what are your hopes? And the series of questions are really asking, who are you when you're authentic? If you're just going to be you, rather than try to please people or live up to somebody else's expectations. Yes?
I have a question that I want to piggyback on Scott's on the evolution of how you see talent, because didn't you direct as well? Mm-hmm. So you would look at people audition and say, well, there's an actor with talent or not talent, and now in a corporation standpoint or bringing out people's talent, what's that evolution? What does that look like? What have you learned?
Again, I think it's the gosh, that's a good question. Can I get back to you on that?
Yeah.
But I'll take a shot at it now. But this is one. Thank you. I'm going to leave here with great questions to be considering. It's one thing to fill a slot, and when you're casting a play or you're hiring people in an organization, you are looking to fill a slot. But once that person is there, that doesn't mean that that's the sum total of who they are. So what we're really doing with this is saying, okay, so I've seen Don do workshops like in a city the size of Palo Alto or something like that, where you have the city manager in the same workshop with somebody who collects the trash, and they're engaging in a conversation with each other. And the city manager's getting wonderful value from the questions that the trash collector is asking. There's something about that that really appeals to me. So, yes, DJ?
So, oh God, there's so much here. First, you are a maestro. You're beautiful in the way that you orchestrated this, even for our amusement and for our intrigue. So, props to you.
Oh, thank you.
And Jay worked with me forever ago on a project for Verizon, and your name is still in that work, and it still lives, and we're not making any money on it, but it's...
That's one of my
So
trademarks.
I don't owe you anything, but no, but your brilliance is just, it's extraordinary. And, there are a couple of things. One is the partnership, is how that came to be and what that allows for us as coaches, because, that's the dance I think a lot of us really, really enjoy. And speaking about...
Can I answer that before you go on? Because right now I'm having trouble managing my emotions. For years, I longed for a partnership that was just like the right fit, and I've tried out a number of people. And I always found myself not quite, actually Scott and I had a wonderful partnership that we really enjoyed. But it just wasn't working out. And I feel so fortunate that Don approached me and it's Cam. It's sort of like Cam was the catalyst for that. And he's just been, I know him as a brilliant man and a creative man, but what I've gotten to appreciate is just what a generous man he is. And this couldn't have been possible without his generosity. It's just been extraordinary for me.
Yeah, I see that, and I appreciate that. And the other is, I think a lot of us feel like we tap into a lot of different talents, when we're interested in a lot of different things. And it's like settling on the one thing that allowed you to do all of that, the walk in the woods, whatever it was. What was that experience like for you? Like, what did you really come to as you walked through the forest?
It's again, for me, the idea within Engine is the hope, and I keep coming back to that. And then it takes off in some direction, and you sort of let it flow as long as it's got energy. And then when it starts to peter out, I go back to the hope. And certainly there have been some days and moments when it's been, the dark day or night of the soul, where I go, why did I ever do this project? I've ruined my life. I had such a great life before, Because what was that picture of the horse on top of the person? There had been that thing. But then what do you do? And again, Don's been a great partner in this. You go back to the hope. You get recentered in that thing that is just the truth for you. And it is about something in the future, but it's really present-based. And it's a lot of things people have been talking about. It is sort of heart and emotion, and it's not just a thought. It seems to be all of that stuff together. And one of the things we do in the Talent Catalyst conversation is we ask the question twice. We ask the question at the beginning, and then we ask a few other questions, and then we come back to that. And it's amazing how it has changed for people after they do a little processing. So,
I want to do that with you.
okay, you're on.
Okay, good.
We've known each other a long time, too. And I want to take you back to a moment outside of Orlando on the verge of a hurricane. And you were doing a presentation with Henry Kinsey House.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. And I hear echoes of that in what you're doing today. Because you talked at that time about how everything you bring to coaching, that you were before you bring to coaching, and when you're no longer a coach, you'll take everything you were as a coach, and you needed to decide what was the core of you that you were taking with you wherever you go. I'm not sure if you remember that presentation.
I don't, but I believe you.
So I think this question may not be answerable since you don't remember the presentation, but my question was that journey of taking everything with you, how does that relate to the talent journey?
It strikes me that it has everything to do with it. That really, again, what we're asking people to do is just to trust that you don't need to pay attention to your talent because it's just there. And when you turn the key, when you engage the engine, which is what we think hope is at least it's one way in, when you engage that, it just comes along for the ride. I couldn't leave parts of me behind. There's just no way. Which is, again, one of the reasons why, defining it seems to be like, okay, I'm going to acknowledge this part of me, which is a strength, but all those other things, all those other colors and the richness, I got to push aside because this is what I'm good at.
Jay, I'm going to give Marcia Mozart, the actress, the last question of the day, and then we're going to wrap up.
Thank you. I'm going to take it off of you, although I love you too. But I want to come back to just the question. I need a clarification. When you speak of talent, are you talking about like skills and knowledge? And I ask this because I'm struggling a little when you said don't name it, and yet when I work with my clients and helping them to identify who they are beyond their skills and knowledge, Don's generosity, your sense of humor, of understanding, to me, that articulation of being able to express who I am as I put myself out there seems to be a way for my clients to claim it, to allow them to bring it out. And so I'm wondering, do you make that distinction? Because I know in StrengthsFinder they don't. They clump it all together. Do you make that distinction in terms of talent? Are you talking about just skills and knowledge, or are you saying all of it?
I'm saying all of it.
Okay.
And I think I would agree with you. I think there are times when naming something frees it. And that's somehow different than labeling it and saying that's what that is and that's all that is.
Okay,
it's limited
that's a great
to that.
distinction. Great, thank you. Thank you.
So Jay, other
Thanks.
than the invitation to buy a book, what would be your call to action to us?
Don, do we have a call to action?
Yes, well, as part of this effort to have, we're really looking at this beyond Jay and myself to how this could be a vehicle to get the benefits of talent development out to people around the world. So if you're moved by this idea of how we could work together to realize a 2020 vision, and in that being something bigger than any of us in any of our individual efforts, we'd invite you to go to a place where you can keep in touch with us about that and contribute what you'd like. And it's Take Charge of Your Talent on Facebook. If you want to like the page, it's an easy way to figure out what's going on, what's happening, and how you can be part of it. And it's an open system. We welcome all of you to play.
And for $2.50, you can talk to me.
So from Jay, what's a call to action that's not about the project, just for all of us?
Yeah, I mean, if something resonates here for you, there's this question of hope, and whether you just grab somebody and have them ask you that. Just what are the hopes for your talent, or what are your hopes, and why are they important to you? And you can drill down with that. You can keep asking that question for 5, 6, 7 iterations. Why is that important to you? What's so important to you about that? Until you really feel like you've gotten to some bedrock, some engine that is really the thing that's going to propel you forward.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
And that's why he's a master, like the rest of us, but he's special. Thank you. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Take my water.
There's brilliance in this room, and I think that's why the CAM talks have emerged as something for us to do, and that was a beautiful debut. So one more time for Jay. Thank you.